No, your own music. Yeah, so when I first started bobsleigh, I was 17 years old, and my first 3 years in this sport, I was the person at the back. We call it a brakeman. So at that point, girls were still only doing 2 men, and I was going to go to the Olympics. That was my goal. I wanted to go to the 2006 Olympics, and I worked really, really hard. I trained as hard as I could. Going into that year, I was the fastest I had ever been. I was the strongest. Everything was looking perfectly. I was super excited. And I ended up not being selected to race. I only found out about 4 days before, so I got to go to the Olympics. I walked into the opening ceremonies thinking, this is it. My dreams are going to come true. Canada's looking really good. We've had medals on the podium. I could potentially win a medal, but this is what I'm going to do. And 4 days before, I got called into a room, and the coach had said that a couple of the other girls had been chosen, and I wasn't going to be racing. So I went from the highest of high, believing that everything was going to be perfect, working as hard as I could, to all of a sudden watching everybody else achieve their dreams, and I had to help them, but I couldn't do anything for me. Nothing was going to happen for me, and that was extremely hard. I had to be an alternate, so I had to help the other girls. I had to work on their equipment, make it easier for them so that they could race and be successful, but yet I couldn't achieve any of my goals and dreams. And so I was very, very thankful. My parents had come to the Olympics. It was in Italy, and they were supportive. They were there. I had many nights when I went, and I stayed and I cried, and I was with my mom because that was it. I didn't, you're there, you're at the games, but this is what you really want, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so my parents were there, they were support, and that was the biggest thing for me, was having my parents there. It didn't matter if I was good or bad, they were there to support my dreams and goals. They were there in the lead up, and they were going to be there afterwards. And so it took me about 2 months. After the 06 games, I didn't want anything to do with sport. I had quit bobsleigh, I was done. That was it. I was going to go to school, I was going to move on with my life. I was not happy, and I hated sport altogether, hated bobsleigh. And then it was about 2 months later, and I started to miss the people. I started to miss my other teammates from all over the world. I started to miss the sport. I started to miss being athletic as well, and going to the gym and pushing myself. And so from that point, I was like, okay, well, I know that I don't want to stay where I'm at, and I want to learn and grow, so that's when I switched. And I went from the back of the sled to the front to become the pilot. And I thought, well, I'm going to give it one more shot, and we're going to see how it's going to work out. It might be really bad. I might get hurt again. But at the same point, I don't want that to be my Olympic story. I believed in myself. I believed in my abilities, and I knew that, if this is what I really wanted, I was going to go after it. And it was going to be hard, and it wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't always going to go my way. But I could be tough through the really hard times, and that's what was going to make me stronger. And 06 really taught me a lesson, and because of the 2006 games and going through that really hard time, when I got to go to the Olympics again 4 years later in 2010, I was ready. I was prepared. So as much as and as hard as 06 was, by the time I got to 4 years later, I knew about an Olympics. I knew what it meant, and I was able to compete to the very best of my ability and win a gold medal in 2010 because of 06. So sometimes things are hard and they suck, and it doesn't mean that you give up and you quit and you stop. It just means that you're learning something, and you got to push through it and keep going.
Awesome! Woo! Okay, we had a few of our superstars in here bring us their medals, and can you chuck them on? We would love to see them on you. They look so cool. Wow! Whoa. So we've got the 2010 and the 2014 here. We don't have Michelle's, but we have something even crazier that she's going to tell us about. And Caillou, chuck it on. That's awesome. Oh, yours is in the Hall of Fame. Oh, of course. Okay. Awesome. So we've got some Nagano and some Salt Lake over here. Thank you for wearing those. Thank you. Woo! And we're going to ask Katrina about another kind of fear altogether. Fear of success. Fear of standing out and being different in a time that you experience that. And what that means for us girls who want to be part of our team, fit in. And it can be tough to be the tallest poppy. That's an expression that's not desirable. Okay, let's hear from Katrina.
Thanks, Chandra. Listening to Michelle and Kaylee,
I think one of the biggest things is belief. And when Chandra was talking to me about being fearless, I think one of the biggest fears we do have is fear of failure. Kaylee talked about that she'd failed in a way herself in 2006, and getting to the point where I started to fear success was after experiencing failure. And in 1994, at my second Olympics, I went in ranked 5th in the world. I mean, that's pretty good, right? If you think that only 4 women in the entire world are faster than you. And I ended up falling at those Olympic Games and coming in last place. So that's pretty devastating to want a result. And the thing that I was probably most upset about is I felt like I failed my family, my parents who were there, and my sisters, and everybody who was there supporting me. So then I went into the next Olympics, and I ended up winning a gold and a bronze. And that was pretty exciting, but going into my final Olympics, my 4th Games, I was expected to win. But all of a sudden I had this different fear, and nobody had ever really talked about fear of success. Because, everybody's gonna stumble and fall at some point, and you're gonna be pretty upset. But you know what? One of the things you have to realize is that the people who you think you're disappointing, like Kaylee was saying, she went and sat with her mom and cried. Do you know that our families only love us? These medals don't make us different people or better people or worse people. We're the exact same people. And the people around you who support you and cheer for you, they just want you to try hard. They want you to have fun. They don't care if you win a medal or not. But the thing is if you look at all of Calgary, in all of Canada, the number of people that have really won medals, it's not that many. The percentage, I don't know, do you even know a percentage or a statistic? It's not very high. So when you actually are going out and wanting to be the very best, you know what you have to be okay with is that if you succeed, you're going to be seen as a little bit different. We're sitting up here with our medals, but we're kind of standing out, and you have to be okay with that. And that is okay. And it's okay to be scared to be different. It's okay to be a little bit scared because what if I win? People are going to look at me and they're going to talk to me. They're going to talk about me. And that doesn't mean you're always super comfortable with it, but it means you have to be okay with it because winning a medal doesn't change who you are. And I think that's one of the biggest things, you guys, is that regardless of how you do or how your friends do or your teammates, don't ever let an experience change who you are, right? Who you are inside, because it's just a great race or a great event, and then you go out the next day and you're the exact same person. So I think there are a lot of things to fear, but when we stand up strong and we're confident with who we are, we can handle any fear, any fear.
Wow. Do you think you can take that home? That your core is you and it's not changing and fearless? I think so. Wow. So we've got a cool story from Michelle about the award she's most proud of.
I brought a little something for you that I wanted to share. Remember I said that I started swimming really late, and it was really interesting when you say about being yourself. This may sound really, really funny, but I never ever swam to try and beat somebody else. It was always to do better than I did before, and then the results started to come. Like you can have that as your goal, but then you focus on what is it that you really want to do and keep getting better. So this is probably one of my most cherished this is my most improved trophy from the second year I was swimming. And it usually sat beside my Olympic medal because I would have never got to that place if I didn't go, oh, if I can do that, then maybe I can do this. And if I could do that, then I could do this. And it just started to build the confidence. Because where does our confidence come from? It comes from doing, right? We get confident when we do. Like we might be a little bit afraid of something, but then as soon as we step up, we start to do it and go, oh man, I could do that. Like how many of you did things today that you didn't think you could do? Pretty cool, hey? Yeah, so my medal is actually across the street at Canada Sports Hall of Fame. If you guys ever get a chance to go over there, how many have been over there? there's inspiring stories on every corner. It's so cool to walk in there and just, see and hear all the stories and experience it, because there isn't one person in that Hall of Fame that didn't go through some sort of challenge to get there. Probably multiple challenges, and that's what makes them strong. That's why you push through those challenges, and it makes you stronger to get to the next one, right? Helps you grow.
Awesome. You guys can't even see this trophy. It's so tiny. Who's going to go over to the Hall of Fame and see Michelle's medal? I think there's a video, too. Yes. There's a pretty cool video, right, of you doing the amazing synchro. Wow. Thank you very much for that story. A lot of girls submitted questions for our ambassadors, and tons of people want to know when you started doing your sport, and you touched on it a little bit, but we're going to ask Katrina about when she started doing her sport and when she continued doing all of her other sports. So no matter how old we are, no matter how successful we are, I think we can all remember this moment. We're going to hear from Katrina, and remember, keep doing all of the sports. This is a pretty wild one. This is actually the longest I've heard of managing both different sports, summer and winter.
I think the biggest thing, and this is maybe for all of you girls, but for the parents as well, and being a parent of an 11-year-old and 8-year-old, sport's for life, right? It's not just at this point. Sport is for life, and it keeps us active, it keeps us healthy body, but healthy mind as well. So girls, this is stuff, you're learning things that you're going to be able to use the rest of your life. But I started, I played ringette before I started speed skating. I was 18 before. And then I was doing both, and then I went into speed skating full time at about 12. And I always did track and field in the summer as well. So I went to my first Olympic Games, but my track and field dream hadn't died. And I still wanted to see what I could do. And so from 92 until 95, I ended up doing track and field in the summer, and ended up qualifying and going to a Canada Games and doing heptathlon and hurdles and relays. So it was, people told me that I was crazy. I'll say that, because they said doing track and field in the summer, you're not doing your sport-specific speed skating training. It's going to hurt your speed skating. But what it did was, it was so great for my mind, because you're still training and you're doing active stuff. And again, maybe this is a little bit for the parents, but you get a bit of a mental break. And it was so wonderful. And after 1995, I said, okay, I'm done with track and field, and went back to full-time, even in the summer, speed skating training. But you know what, I'll tell you that I'm back playing old lady ringette. And when we talk about sport for life, I never played hockey. And I say old lady ringette because I think even my daughter's faster than I am, or I can trap the ring better than I am now. But I just took up hockey for the first time, and I'm playing some hockey. Well, you know what? People assume that when you skate super duper fast on speed skates that you're going to go out and be a really good hockey player. I've never handled a puck, so I'm not that great on the ice. So it's kind of intimidating to go out there and not be that good and have people expect you to be really good. So you know what? I was pretty proud of myself, I have to say, at 44 years old, to go out and to be able to hold my head high even when I skated super fast and I missed the puck. And everybody kind of giggled at me. I had to sort of swallow my pride and be proud of myself. So, you know what, you guys, the sports and the activity that you're doing, never stop doing it, okay? This is fun for life.
Wow.